Hey, welcome to a special edition of Veterans Rant, Rattle and Roll. I've been talking about over the last few episodes that I was going to start a series called Forgotten Truckers. It's about a book I wrote, and that book actually came from handwritten journals that I did from the beginning of my story all the way to the second part of the story. This journal covers March 19th of 2003 until approximately 1 June of 2003. Now you say to yourself, dude, why do we care about a book that goes over 60 days? Something happened during that 60 days that from Jump Street, I thought, you know what? I better write this down. So this is going to be several videos in a video series called Forgotten Truckers because I want to share this story with you. I want you to hear about a bunch of guys that went through some stuff. Basically, not the way they're supposed to go through it, but they figured out how to go through it. Now, I've taken this journal and I've written it into a book. And as a matter of fact, I'll be honest with you, that book is sitting right there on the screen, and I'll be using this mouse because I'm going to read to you the journal entries verbatim. Then I'm going to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it as if maybe you were never in the Army or the military. Most of you that are veterans that are watching this will understand everything I'm saying, and I'm trying to make sure that everybody can. All right? So, welcome to the video series Forgotten Truckers. Now you're going to figure out in a relatively short period of time why I call it, why somebody calls it Forgotten Truckers. But let's go ahead and let's jump to the journal. 19 March 2003, Bravo Company 431 Infantry Barracks. That's at Fort Drum, New York. That's the day that Operation Iraqi Freedom started. Upstate New York is where Fort Drum is. And of course, on that day, it was just a normal spring day. Entry. Due to today's events, I have decided I will rededicate myself to journaling everything. I think this is going to be one hell of a ride. 10 a.m. All NCOs of our company have been told to meet in the day room immediately. The first sergeant wants to speak to us. End of the first entry. First sergeant calls you to the day room, you go to the day room. First sergeant calls you around. Let me give you a little background information. We've been training intensely over the past few months. So don't forget, if you've been watching Veterans Rant, Rattle and Roll, then you know that I was out of the Army from September 93 until October 02. So I came back in October, and this is 5 months later. I came back because of personal reasons in 9/11. So we've been training hard at Fort Drum. We've been issued DCUs, the Desert Camo uniform. But we're still wearing the BDU, the battle dress uniform. You know, the cool old ones, the green and black and brown, right? There's containers behind the company. Everything's packed. Everybody's ready to go. All we got to do is wait for orders, which never came. Now, a day room is a sparsely filled room usually. Has like a pool table and a big screen TV. And if you're on duty for 24 hours or hanging out on the weekends, or even, it doesn't matter, it's just somewhere to go and hang out and do something when you're staying in the barracks. The winters in upstate New York are no joke. They can be as cold as you could ever imagine. I literally remember one time going to bed after 24-hour duty, my window was open in my room, and I racked out at about 10 o'clock, woke up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, freezing my butt off, room's dark as can be, and I'm like, what in the heck is all this about? It ends up being that this snowstorm came in, and I just didn't happen to wake up, but the snow blew in so hard and so fast that the drift blew up the window and darkened it. I couldn't see, and my feet were covered in snow, so it's a little bit cold. But hey, you know what? That happens when things are going on. Now, our first sergeant in Bravo Company 431 at that time was a very formidable man. He was a hell of an NCO. If you admire a strong leader, then he was definitely a strong leader. He was straight up. He used to love, I remember going to an NCO dining in, and he'd come out and he'd go, hey! Everybody looking and go, I'm the goddamn first sergeant, right? That was his style. He was a straight up guy. Yes, I keep looking at the screen because how I wrote this book is my quotes and then my notes to try to explain what's going on. The company, Bravo Company 431 at that time, was full of great NCOs. It was sprinkled like every unit in the Army with a few knuckleheads, but it was pretty good. Next entry. So we're all in the day room first, okay? We're all in the day room, and then walks the first sergeant. Quote, he stood in the middle of the room and as always yelled, listen up! I'm going to ask for volunteers for a mission. Now before anyone puts their hands up, I want you to know what it is for. I need some sergeants to volunteer to go to Iraq. We do not know what you will be doing. Now my hand flew up. I stepped forward to make sure I had the first sergeant's attention. I figured I would be competing with a million hands, so I was literally like, first sergeant, me. He pointed at me, and a loud voice said, 1. I said, yes. And I turned to see who was coming with me. I was alone. That's why the first sergeant said 1 so loudly. And I was the only volunteer in the room. First sergeant told me to go hang out while he informed battalion that he had a volunteer and he would be with me shortly. End of entry. I really believed when he asked for volunteers to go to Iraq that I had to jump forward and do that because I would be competing against 50 other NCOs all trying to go. That room was crickets. Absolutely crickets. You know, so after shaking some hands and some high fives, I went to my barracks room. I was an older E5 because I'd just come back in the Army, but I still lived in the barracks. And I decided, man, I don't know what I volunteered for, so I better start this journal, right? Next entry. Same day, I'm just breaking the days up. I'm still shocked as I write this. What the hell are the other guys here for? Are we not infantrymen? Is it not what we trained for? How am I the only one? I am confused yet very excited. As I sit in my room with the door open, I'm watching the soldiers walk down the hallway. From time to time, one sticks his head in the door and says, good luck. I've been told to report to the first sergeant's office. Now listen, to this very day, I'm blown away that I was the only one. I mean, I am still in shock. We're talking there's 4 platoons in an infantry company, a minimum of 13 NCOs per platoon. That's 52 NCOs, not counting the first sergeant, and I was the only one. Now, I did speak with my fellow team leader at the time, and he did say that he wished he would have volunteered too, but that's just the way it goes. You know, sometimes it's hard for the Army to get volunteers. So obviously when the first sergeant called for me, I walked down to the CP, the command post, where all the platoon sergeant's offices are and the training room is. And there's a counter that stops you from going to the first sergeant's office. Not that anybody's just going to walk in his office. To the left of the counter is the commander in the XO's office, right? Next entry. First sergeant called me into his office, told me that he had talked to the command sergeant major, CSM, telling him I had volunteered for the mission and that the CSM had approved of my going. He told me to report to Battalion S3, that's the operations area, at 1300 for further instructions. He also told me not to worry about nothing. I would probably end up serving coffee in some general's office, and that he takes his black. He slapped me on the shoulder and said, sure wish I could go with you. He also told me I am off from then till I leave. Minus when I'm needed. Short lease, Sergeant Parker. Short lease. Make sure you go get good and drunk. I went from his office to my platoon sergeant's office. I told my sergeant first class, the platoon sergeant, what I'd been instructed to do. He gave the NCO sitting in the office some straight shit for not volunteering as I did. End of entry. So the walk from Bravo 431 up to the battalion headquarters is up a sidewalk near a basketball court, up to an area maybe 3/4 of a football field away. Behind the building is a huge white polar bear named George. He's the mascot of the battalion, called the Polar Bears. The headquarters there on Fort Drum is on North River Ridge Loop. If you're ever there, you ran around that loop more times than you could count. As a matter of fact, in my interview with Lieutenant Colonel retired Tara Smith, I'm sure her and I passed each other more than once running on that road. Once you go into battalion headquarters, there's all kinds of historical things there. There's a little short George, there's all kinds of skis and different uniforms we've been wearing over the years. there's quite the heritage. 431 Infantry Regiment is quite a historical unit. 1300 S3, next entry. I was given a packet list at S3. I asked the LT who gave it to me where it had come from, and he said Brigade Headquarters. I don't believe it. And if I did, it was a joke. The packing list looked something like I would have used if I was in the Army the first time. That'd be way back in 1985. I am to draw my weapon system and get a weapons case. I am to report to the brigade headquarters Saturday morning, stacked and packed and ready to go. All right, now let's talk about this. This packet list had the OD green Army blanket. I don't even think the Army had issued that in 15 years. This packet list was wacko. It was like nobody had ever thought it out. I mean, we're talking about taking stuff that there's no reason for it. Cold weather gear with Mickey Mouse boots to the Iraq desert? What in the world is that about? The packet list made no sense. It was like some major had just pulled it off his computer, gave it to some lieutenant and said, here, give it to those guys. Who cares? They're not going to do anything anyway, right? I mean, I can hear it in my head. Some major got a tasking from division headquarters to get these volunteers. They don't know why. Nothing's been told. Nothing's been said. And to come up with a packet list. They're not going to Iraq. They're still staying there. See, 10th Mountain was supposed to be part of Operation Iraqi Freedom by going through Turkey's airspace into Iraq. But Turkey said no. So we're all sitting around wondering if we're even going to get to go, right? I can't believe it. I mean, the leaders acted like it meant nothing to them that people from their unit was going to leave and go to Iraq because they weren't going. I can't believe it. You know, it was interesting. And then for them to believe I was going to be a general's aide. All right, so let's move on. 1500, next entry. I went to the arms room to get my weapon and nods so I could put them in the weapons case. Nods or night observation device. Go right on your face. You've probably seen it in all the video games. That I had to get for another unit. We didn't have any. And I literally had to go walking around to other battalions and asking for a weapons case. You're going to ship soldiers all over the world and you don't have a weapons case, right? I mean, it took me a while, but I found it. Start to quote. I was told that the battalion had instructed my commander to issue me an M16. Do not give me my M4 or optics nor nods, but my commander said, hell no. Sergeant Parker, you will take your zeroed and qualified weapon system and everything you were assigned from the arms room. By the time anyone finds out, you'll be in Iraq. He and the first sergeant are furious at the battalion for these instructions, but they are taking care of me. My weapon and everything is locked up in the case and in the arms room, and I'm to draw it on Saturday. End of quote. Now think about that. The battalion command sent word to the company, don't let him take his weapon system. Don't let him take these things. Now the Army has the military has a real big hang up with their sensitive items. Of course they do. They don't want everybody getting a hold of them. But you train as a soldier to use your system, your weapon. You get used to it. You understand it. You know the rattles in it. You know how to clean it right. You know what it takes to maintain it. The nod that you're used to is set for the clip on your helmet. Your optics are set to you. I mean, it's a system that you're supposed to use to take to combat. And just knowing that somebody at the battalion headquarters didn't want me to take it should have been my second clue that this whole mission was going to be FUBAR. And that it was, nobody cared. Now in the military, no soldier left behind. We have these ethics, this code, right? But these guys were kicking that code down the road like a dirty can and not even thinking about it. So we're only talking between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m., 1500 so far. So it's 5 hours of life. And look at these two screwy things I've already had happen. I got a packet list that makes no damn sense, and somebody's trying to keep me from going with a weapon. Go to Iraq, but don't defend yourself, soldier. Next entry, 1630, 4:30. Was about to leave for the company party at the VFW. I'm all packed and ready when some of the soldiers came in my room. with a signed, by most, picture drawn for the unit as a going away present. I gave it to one of my closest buddies, asked him to mail it to my mother for me. Everything I'm not taking to Iraq is now boxed up and stored in the supply room. So these guys do this awesome thing. I still have it somewhere, maybe in one of the future episodes I'll find it. It's this hand-drawn picture of the polar bears. And a lot of the soldiers signed it all the way around. They made nice comments, they did nice things. As a matter of fact, I told you about the first sergeant. His comment said, you know, good luck, keep your head down, I take my coffee black. It was really great, you know? So we leave that night, we go to the VFW for a professional development dinner. So the whole company's hanging out. And of course, I'm the guy leaving. So I'm sort of getting to do whatever it is I want to do. You know, it was very surprising to me, it still is, that I was the only volunteer that I knew of at this time in the entire brigade. So there's 5 companies in a battalion, headquarters Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta. There's approximately 7,000 soldiers. No, hold up. 5 companies in a battalion, 7 battalions-ish in an infantry brigade. So call it 7,000 soldiers and 1 volunteer. I do solemnly swear to not go to combat unless you force me to. Now here I was, just blown away. Just starting to feel like, okay, I guess I gotta do this by myself, right? I did spend the next few days partying and spending time with friends and doing what soldiers do before they go off to war. That's all I'm gonna say. I didn't write anything about that because, you know, think about it. I'm 34 years old, I'm single, I'm in upstate New York, I'm leaving in 2 days, there's a bar. You do the rest. All right, let's jump forward. 23 March 2003, Saturday. Didn't sleep well last night. All wired up over this deployment. Going back to Kuwait, it's been almost 13 years. What am I going to do this time is yet to be seen. Okay, got to brigade at 0930, where I met my counterparts from the rest of the division. 1 staff sergeant from 214 Infantry, 2 sergeants from 214 Infantry, 1 sergeant from 287 Infantry, along with a staff sergeant from 431 Infantry. End of entry. So the brigade command headquarters. And the brigade sergeant major's there. Next entry. Wow, what a surprise. They don't know anything about what we are really going to do either. End of quote. So here I am at the brigade headquarters. The E9. The senior enlisted guy over approximately 7,000, give or take, soldiers, doesn't know nothing. So I'm an E5. An E6 should have been able to tell me what's up. An E7 definitely should have been able to tell me what's up. An E8, oh my gosh, should have been able to tell me what's up. But the E9 not knowing. The fact that it appears, so let's not call it a fact, let's call it an appearance. It appears that nobody made a phone call. You are the brigade sergeant major. You are the battalion sergeant major. You can call the division sergeant major. Who can call force comm? There are generals on this base. Somebody can call somebody and ask some questions. I don't think anybody did. So here you are. You're packed into a van with 6 or 7 other people that you don't know, but you're NCO, so you feel a little bit of a connection, a little bit of esprit de corps, 10th Mount kind of glory. And you know you're poorly equipped because your packing list sucks. You have your weapon, but the other guys, not so much. Some of them, their commanders, heeded their orders, if you will, instructions, and took their weapons. Gave them a piece of junk in the back of the arms room. And you're packed in this van, headed to the airport. Talk about anxiety. Think about it. You're supposed to be informed about so many things all the time. Information is so important. Here you are, 4 days later, and it's, you know, here's a finger. Go figure it out. All right? Next entry. 1240 up in the air, headed to Fort Bliss, Texas, via Detroit and Dallas. New York to Detroit, Detroit to Dallas, Dallas to El Paso. The Army's not exactly the world's greatest travel arranger. Second part of the same quote, 1645, we are at Fort Bliss, locked down, not allowed to go anywhere, and we are a day early, and tomorrow is the report day. End of entry. So here we arrive at Fort Bliss, Texas. We go El Paso, city of El Paso's airport. Grab your stuff. You got your weapon in your case. You go down the escalator and you go to this welcome center. There's a little desk. It says, hey, welcome, welcoming soldiers to Fort Bliss. There's nobody there. Why? Because Fort Drum shipped us a day early. Look, I get it in the military. If you're not 15 minutes early, you're 15 minutes late. Well, I guess if you're not a day early, you're a day late. Look, this is stuff you get used to. I mean, it's almost like if you're in the military and you're a fellow veteran looking at this, you're laughing at me going, dude, what are you whining about? I ain't whining, I'm just saying. Okay, maybe a little, but should it have been this way? I mean, we get to the airport and nobody knows there. And so you got that phone, right? This is pick it up and it calls the staff duty desk. There's no, rotor or dial. You pick it up, it rings, you talk, they talk, you hang up. So here we are, we're sitting there, and I'm E5. With some E6s, I ain't in charge. I ain't in charge of nothing. I'm basically I'm the lowest dude on the food chain. They pick up the phone, they call the base. The base doesn't know what's going on. I go outside, have a smoke. I'm just not really digging this much. Should already know that I'm in for a world of crap. And the guy is on hold forever. Finally hangs up. Staff duty calls back a few minutes later, says they're on the way. Okay, great. So we're all standing around talking, smoking, waiting. A good hour passes, still nobody showed up. Let's go to the next entry. Found out that the only 2 of the 6 from the division volunteered. The other 4 got picked, voluntold. Very strange, end of quote. So here we are outside, we're smoking cigarettes, we're talking, we're joking, we're smoking, we're doing our thing. And I'm saying, so why'd you guys volunteer? And they're like, I didn't volunteer, man. I got told. So I'm just sort of standing there going, dang, man. I am one of 2. Now the other guy that volunteered, we ended up doing a lot of stuff together. I just found it unprofessional. I still do. That when a mission is given, then people just say, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to volunteer. I get it. Operation Iraqi Freedom is 4 days old. So maybe they're like, man, this is real. I don't go. I don't know. So let's break it down here. The average division, I'm not going to say averages. I don't know every division, but Fort Drum, as far as I understand, had 3 brigades on Fort Drum. And each brigade, let's call it 7,000 soldiers. And there's 8 of us. 6 of us, excuse me, 6 of us. There's 6 of us. 2 have volunteered. So is that what? 2 out of 30,000, 2 out of 20,000 volunteer. And now we're at Fort Bliss with a complete lack of leadership. Well, we don't have a sergeant major to tell us he doesn't know anything. We don't have a first sergeant to make sure that we're ready to get coffee. We don't have a platoon sergeant to give some shit to other people who ain't doing something. And a couple staff sergeants I'm with, they don't know anything either. So it's really having a hard time. So I'm reading my notes down there. When we're talking about going, we're at the airport, finally, oh yeah, the bus shows up. The bus shows up, okay? The bus shows up. This person gets off wearing civilian clothes. I don't know if it's private or general. I have no idea who it is. I have no idea what they do. Heck, they could be a chaplain, they could be a brain surgeon. I don't have a freaking clue. And she goes, y'all the guys from Fort Drum. Are you all the guys from Fort Drum? Not are you the sergeants, nothing. Complete disdain. Just sort of like, whatever. Right? Here's your bus. We get on the bus, and it's just us. And she's like, we didn't know you were coming. We had no idea. Nobody's supposed to come to tomorrow. Why are you here? We don't even know where to put you. I'm sorry to inconvenience you. I'm sorry that my division sent me early. I'm sorry that somebody had to call you and get you to come ride this bus to pick us up. My bad.